back to Local Decision 2020. I'm Rusty Ray, and we're joined now by a candidate for Centennial School Board. It's Stephanie Carlson. Stephanie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So involved in the school district already through your child's rising up through the school and into Centennial High School now. Tell me more about your experience to this point with volunteering and then serving in a couple of advisory capacities, right? Tell me more about that.
Yes, well, ever since he went into kindergarten, I've been in the classroom at least on a weekly basis. And I followed him through to 5th grade. And during the time when I was in the elementary school, I also was the volunteer coordinator for a few years, which meant I was coordinating every single event that the school did and trying to get volunteers for that. I also helped with the gifted and talented programs and any school events that happened. And then when he moved to the middle school, I started volunteering there in the media center and run the listening lunches program there. And for many years, I've been on the Systems Accountability Committee. And what that committee does is it's made up of administrators, teachers from all of the 7 schools that are in the district, parent representatives from all the 7 schools, some junior and senior students, some community at large members. It's just kind of a place where the administrators can go over, say, new curriculum items, goals for the district, anything that they might want to or have to run across to the school board. They will run it by us first. We can ask questions about it, and then they kind of feel more confident about bringing it to the school board, saying, we passed it through this committee.
Right, so. Right. They can kind of workshop a few things or have that dialogue, and it sounds like with student involvement in particular, that adds that element there of really having probably an in-depth conversation about particular issues.
Right, yes.
And I would imagine that would lead you to want to be a part of the school board and draw upon that experience, and I would imagine kind of a network within the district, right? I mean, it's with several schools in a smaller area, it's a pretty good sized district for the area that it covers. And so I would imagine you've made connections or have been able to kind of establish a little bit of a network there. Do you feel like that's an advantage for you here?
I definitely do. I feel one of the greatest opportunities that I've had with my involvement in the school is developing close relationships with not just teachers, but many teachers, but also staff members in any capacity at the school. And students, I've worked closely with students throughout those 12 years that I've been at the school, and then their families, and also in some of the community activities that I'm in. So I really do think that those connect. I've had people ask me across the years, would you ever consider running for school board? And I just wasn't quite ready until now. So yeah, I do think that those connections make a big difference.
What is it about Centennial? I mean, people move to the area in large part because of the school district and to Lino Lakes and Centerville and Circle Pines and the proximity to the cities and everything like that, but the school district is a big reason why. What is it about Centennial, not only the education and the opportunities, but just the community itself?
Well, I do feel like it's a very close-knit community. I do think we did move here for the school district, and that was back in 2004 when our son was only 1, but I just didn't want to move again. I wanted to do all that research up front so he would be rooted in one community. I think, you know, we looked at the test scores and we looked at everything that you can find online about a school, but when we really did get involved, then I just noticed that people really care. The teachers really care. There are excellent teachers in our district, and that makes a huge difference.
Tell me more about Centennial Cares, and I want to make sure I get this right, so I'm looking at notes. Community Advocates for Racial Equity in Our Schools. Is this a newer initiative?
Yes, definitely it is. Basically, after the murder of George Floyd, a bunch of us parents and just community members have come together just to kind of, we were a little bit disappointed at the, I would say pretty much complete lack of any kind of communication from our school district regarding the events. I mean, the things that were happening were affecting everyone, not just people in Minneapolis and St. Paul, but it's been affecting everyone. And so we kind of started meeting in backyards and just discussing things and what we felt like we would want to see from the school district when it comes to equity issues. And it also led us just to discover some things that have been happening that we weren't even really aware of. that's an area of growth that Centennial has. We are a predominantly white district, but we definitely are growing in diversity, and I don't think it's always been a very welcoming place for students of color, and we definitely want to work towards changing that. And I am excited about the movement forward that we have had so far. They are going to have an equity audit at the district this year, and I'm very anxious to see the results of that and what action steps they take based on that.
So concerns were not hearing when all of this happened late spring, and school on a normal year would have been kind of moving towards getting out for the year and graduation and all that, but it was not a normal year. There was distance learning and there
Yes.
was postponement of all the things and everything. But you were looking for some sort of acknowledgement of this, and did you not feel like the school district even provided that?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just, I'm sure as everyone can relate, I was receiving emails from everything that I did business with, from credit card companies to everything that I've ever ordered anything online from, to friends in other districts sending me their communication that their administration would put out,
Okay.
or their teachers would put out. And I guess it just kind of made me sad that almost everyone else was saying something about it, and just saying that, you know, this is the time for people to come together as a community and to unite, and we want to make sure we do the right things going forward. And I just feel like it just
And I'll ask one more specific question about this because it's intriguing to me. And through that, you said you started meeting in backyards and having conversations. Did you say that you started to hear of individual incidents that, and I'm not asking for to give me a rundown of these incidents, but I'm just asking, did you hear of incidents in a classroom or larger general ideas that did cause concern among parents and among those involved with the school district?
Yes, definitely. I'm not sure if you were aware that there's a group called Centennial Students for Change that did a march and
Yes.
and rally.
On
It
a
was-
Saturday there in
yes.
Circle Pines.
Yes.
Mhm.
So a lot of it came out there.
Okay.
The stories of things that had happened in the school. You know, racial slurs running rampant and not really being held accountable. You know, people being held accountable for it, and just, you know, that feeling of uncomfortableness. And we certainly don't want that for our students. We want all of our students to feel welcome.
So as a hopeful member of the school board, you would hope to maybe bring some of that to bear too, and you said that they've acknowledged and are agreeing to go through an audit by, is that through an independent committee or is that through a committee in the community?
It is independent. I believe the name of the organization is Equity Alliance, Minnesota Equity Alliance,
Okay.
that they are working with. That's just a job that organization does with different school districts that work with them. So yes, I'm excited about that, and also working with the students in that Centennial Students for Change group. I think we really need to hear from the people who are affected by it and their families, and work together just to try to make them be heard.
And all of this happening with the backdrop of a pandemic that by every account is unprecedented in its scope and the effect it's had on schools.
Yes.
And the very way that the school operates, kids not being in school, not having that community. What can you say about what Centennial has done? And I will ask you this, what do you think this is going to mean for education and education within Centennial schools in particular going forward? Should we get back to normal, whatever that means, however that means? Is this going to change the way that children learn, or the way that classes are managed, the way that schools are managed and things like that? Do you think we're going to have a long-lasting impact based on what's happened this year and based on the way the schools have had to operate?
Well, I do think that everyone's main goal is to eventually get everyone back in the classroom when it is safe. I definitely don't feel like now it is safe to have everyone be in there at the same time. I do think that the hybrid model that we are doing right now is a compromise. I also think it's extremely difficult, especially for teachers and educators. I think they are already exhausted, and we're just at the beginning of the school year. I know they are doing a phenomenal job, an outstanding job, and the best that they can. I really want to make sure that we support them in any way that we can and keep an open dialogue with them and with students and their families, because it's hard on everyone. This is just very hard. And I would like to also see some focus on mental health during this time, because and for students and staff, it's just a very challenging time. We have actually chosen to keep our son, well, and he's 17, so he made the decision himself, but he is staying home full-time. It's just easier that way for him, and we have some medical issues in our family, so we just wanted to play it safe. So, I mean, I could see that it would be an option, that if people just want to learn from home, that is more acceptable. And even beyond our district, I definitely see that as more of an option for colleges and even for working environments. My husband works for the University of Minnesota, and he's been home since the middle of March, and there's really no indication of when they're going to go back to the building. So I think a lot of things have changed, and it kind of makes you be creative. I mean, I think we all have to do whatever we can to get through.
Sometimes one day at a time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Speaking of challenges, always funding is a challenge for school districts. Centennial, I've lived in the district for about 4 years now, and it seems like almost every year there's been a referendum or a levy increase and things like that, or a levy tax to then fund specific projects. And I think the district and Superintendent Dietz and the staff have done a great job of saying this is what we're raising money for and this is why, and then you can see that we're doing this. And Centennial is able to do that. Not all school districts have the support year on year, the community, those kinds of things to be able to do that. Is there a way to move forward, and now especially given the economic implications of COVID, that the economy has done what it's done, looking forward to funding challenges for the district and knowing that what comes from the state or other means may not be what it was, or there may be calls to limit that because the state itself is dealing with making cuts and things like that. Whoever takes office in the new school board is going to be a challenge, I would imagine.
Right. Funding, I think, is always one of the biggest challenges. And I think that Centennial suffers kind of a disproportionate manner due to that, because we don't have a lot of businesses. So the burden of the property tax, which a lot of the school funding comes from, falls onto all of us as homeowners. I don't have a ton of control over this, but I really want to become more of an advocate for equalizing the funding from the state, because we don't really get the fair share, and I really do believe that it should be equal. Like, every student in this state should get one set amount, and it should be the same for everyone. I just believe that everybody has a right to a great public education. It's actually in our state constitution, and I think it should be equitable.
Okay. Stephanie Carlson, that's the time that we have today. I really appreciate you coming by here.
Thank you so much.